Hey guys, welcome back to Framelines. This is episode 17. So it's just me, Euros for sale. Josh is moving house right now, so he's like painting and decorating and getting moved in. We're gonna meet up this weekend and do a video together, so that's gonna come up pretty soon. For now, this episode we're gonna talk about Kodak Vision 3 film, which is this film, which comes in a film canister like this. So I'm gonna show you how to develop it. I'm gonna show you some of my own personal favorite photos on this film. So yeah, that's coming up next. So what is Kodak Vision 3 Cinefilm? It's the most popular film still used in the motion picture industry. Quentin Tarantino used it in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It was used in No Country for Old Men. And Paul Thomas Anderson's There Will Be Blood. But it's actually just 35mm film. So if we can get it from one of these movie canisters and then bulk load it into the smaller standard 35mm canisters, we can shoot it in any 35mm camera. Where the problem occurs then is in developing the film. Because it requires a special process, the ECN2 process, we can't just leave this film into a regular film lab. So we need to develop it at home using an ECN2 kit. Now luckily, Bellini Foto in Europe and QWD Labs in North America provide ECN2 kits for home use, which is what we're going to use today to develop this film. So our first step should then be to mix up our ECN2 kit. So with it all mixed up, we should have a pre-bath, we should have a stop, which doesn't have a label on it, but it's a stop. This is basically acid, which will stop the development process in its tracks. Then we have the developer. I've marked the developer on the top here just for each use. Then we have fixer, and then we have bleach. And the last chemical then is the wash, which is something we get to right at the end. It's basically a stabilizer, which helps prevent the film developing bacteria, and it also helps the film dry correctly, so you don't get white spots or marks on your negative. So to start with, I'm going to fill the basin with hot water. I'm going to fill it with, I'm basically just going to aim for as hot as possible that comes out of the tap. Should be above 40 degrees. So I'm going to fill that up and wait till it gets to a certain level. And then I'm going to put in my chemicals to get them up to temperature. Now the temperature I'm aiming for with the chemicals is 41 degrees exactly. So I might need to even add hotter water to this, which I just add from a boiling kettle. So I wait for the chemicals to get up to temp, and then I can start my development process. So my temperature is now at 41 degrees for my developer, which means I can get started on the development process. So I have my film inside the Patterson tank, and the Patterson tank is used for all film development. So you should be familiar with that if you're attempting this. If you're not, I'd recommend maybe looking at some kind of beginner black and white film development processes. So I am dunking the full bottle of pre-bath, which is about a litre, into a 1 litre Patterson tank. I give it a quick shake just to make sure it gets in around the film. Then I empty it back into the original bottle. And then I run my tap at around 30 degrees, 35 degrees, just kind of lukewarm water or warm-ish kind of water. Then I fill the tank about halfway and shake vigorously, as you can see. Now, this whole step is so important because this is how you get rid of the Remjet layer. The Remjet layer is like a thick kind of charcoaly layer on all of this motion picture film. So we definitely want to get rid of that. And you can see it pouring out here. You see all this kind of dark charcoal going down the drain. So I'm going to rinse the pre-bath out a couple of times just to make sure it's all out of there. And then I'll be ready for the developer. So I have monitored the temperature of my developer. It's exactly at 41 degrees. And I'm pouring it into the Patterson tank. And the Patterson tank is submerged in the basin. And the basin is filled with water, which is about 43, 45 degrees. So I've added developer to the Patterson tank, and it's pretty much the same as developing color film. So I'm going to agitate it for about 15 seconds, and then I'm going to invert it every 30 seconds after that. And the whole development process then takes about 3 minutes and 15 seconds. When I'm done with developer, then I need to empty that back into the bottle so I can reuse it. And I need to add stop immediately. And the stop is what will kill the development process so you don't overdevelop your film. So I add stop, and then I invert that continuously for about 30 seconds. Then I pour the stop back into the original bottle, and then I want to wash that stop off the film because it's actually an acid, so we don't want it eating into the film if we just leave it there. So I'll wash it in lukewarm water for about 30 seconds just to make sure I get as much as possible out of there. So once we've removed the stop from the film, we want to bleach it. And this process takes 3 minutes, and it's the same as the development process in that we agitate it for 15 seconds, then invert it every 30 seconds afterwards. So I add the bleach and I go through that process for 3 minutes. The bleach should be between 35 to 41 degrees. When 3 minutes are up, then I remove the bleach and I wash the negatives in warm water for 30 seconds. The next step is fixer, which is similar to the bleach and dev stages, except we do it for 2 minutes at 38 degrees. So it's the same as the bleach and dev in that we agitate for 15 seconds and then invert every 30 seconds after that. So when 2 minutes are up for the fixer, we need to empty it back into the bottle and then do our usual water wash just to remove all traces of fixer from the film. So the water wash here is a bit longer, so I'd recommend doing it for about 2 minutes, just to really make sure you've all the chemicals washed off the film. And with the wash completed, that's pretty much it. You've developed your film. You can expose it to daylight now and you will have negatives. But we have one last step that we want to do. So at the very start, we had the pre-bath, which removes the Remjet layer. But just to be sure, we want to wipe down the film or the emulsion layer of the film with a wet cloth just to make sure that all of the Remjet is removed from the film. Because otherwise we'll end up with white spots on the images when we scan them. So to do that, I use the wash and I remove the negatives from the Patterson tank. I pour the wash into the tank. I soak a microfibre cloth in the wash, and then I just rub down the negatives until there's no Remjet left on the cloth. Once that's done, I will roll back up the negatives and then just soak it for a minute or 2 minutes in the wash or stabilizer. So when that's done, then it's just a matter of running your 2 fingers or a squeegee down the length of the negative just to make sure you get rid of any excess water, and then you hang it and leave it dry for a few hours. And then that's it. You've developed your own Kodak Vision 3 Cinefilm. And then the next stage is scanning it, which should be pretty straightforward. However, we're going to do a scanning video at some point, and we will focus on scanning Kodak Vision 3. So that's something that we have on the books. If you have any questions about scanning it or any of this development process, just leave a comment below. We'd be happy to answer. Yeah, so that's it. Like, subscribe, and yeah, we'll see you next time.